All right, I'm going to kick us off with just some housekeeping, and then I will pass it on over. So thank you to everyone for joining Axient's MSP Roundtable discussion. We're here today to be talking about how EIT networks increase their profit margins through data protection transformation. My name is Isabella Lord. I'm on the Axcient marketing team. And before I pass things over to our host, I'm just going to go over some housekeeping. I see, Bruce, you have a question. If you want to drop your question in the chat, we'll be able to see that, and then I can answer your question. I'm going to give everyone another minute to jump in, but we really want to make this session interactive, so please use the chat or the Ask a Question button at the bottom, and then ask us any questions that you have. This will be so much more exciting if you guys are engaging with us. So again, please feel free to ask your questions or share any of your insights throughout this discussion. Finally, I know we're all really excited, but one lucky attendee is going to win a $100 Amazon gift card. I'm really excited to give that out. So we'll announce that winner at the end. So please stick around to find out if you won. And with that, I will pass things over to Axient's VP of Marketing, Bryce Roberts.
Thank you, Isabella. And it's a pleasure to be here with you today, Dennis. You're a longtime Axcient partner. You have an amazing story and background. And so the 13 years as founder and CEO of EIT Networks, we'd love for you to say in your own words, your bio.
Yeah, hi Bryce. Thanks for having me. We're not a large MSSP by any stretch of the term right now, but we are about 13 years old. Started, like you said, Greenville, South Carolina. Founded in 2011. Originally was founded as a traditional MSSP back then, or sorry, MSP back then. We basically offered all of the traditional services, backups, AV, help desk, all of that stuff. So story probably very familiar to a lot of the folks watching this today. And currently, though, we over the last 4 years or so, 3 to 4 years, we've been reinventing ourselves. There's a whole story there that I hope to share with you soon. But we currently have a team of 6, and we're managing around 1,000, a little over 1,000 endpoints right now. And we actually want to see that, believe it or not, shrink just a little bit more, at least in the short run. We already have plans for that. And again, I'll go into that a little bit more in detail. But like I said, about 3 years ago, we began just recreating our service offering. When we originally started our company, the term security stack or even stack really wasn't even a term. And so as the world has changed, threats have emerged. We woke up to from our slumber about 3 or 4 years ago and started really reinventing ourselves to prepare for that and to kind of catch up with where others already were. And so it's that the threat landscape, the governance, risk, and compliance, all of the stuff that's coming in today that's really feeding into our space and creating a lot of opportunity that we started preparing for about 3 years ago. And so that's how partly how we came to really lean further into Axcient and our relationship with you guys.
Excellent. It's an amazing story. I can't wait to dig in and really there's so much to cover. I
Sure.
want to sort of set the table. Yeah, absolutely. I want to sort of set the table for folks and make sure I read my notes properly. Don't get the stats mixed up. If I'm not sure if you knew this or if the audience knew this, but the global average cost of a data breach in 2023 was $4.45 million, which is a 15% increase from a 3-year period. So we know attack scale and prevalence is on the rise. The impact of everything is on the rise, and we know it's a scary landscape out there. And so this really fits into your journey. At what point along that timeline of the 13 years and this, and of course you have a very long storied IT history before that, did this type of thing and this type of threat really start to maybe be a driver for you in your business?
Yeah. So when we first started, ransomware really wasn't even a real thing. I mean, we were the first. I think it was about 3 years in when we saw our first ransomware attack. We always had viruses and other things to defend against, but and then originally, the mindset was just have really good versioned backups so that you can just blow away the infected environment and then reinstall. Which that's changed now. We can't really do that anymore because it's essentially a crime scene. And so I would say it's probably about 5, maybe 6 years ago. I'll tell you when there was already stuff going on in my mind, keeping me up at night, making sure my customers were safe and that if they had some sort of cataclysmic event, we would be able to help them out. But it was I think it was probably around the I don't want to say brand names out loud, but let's say something that rhymes with ASEA, VSA attack in July of 2021 that really got my attention. It was the that's the most frightening thing I could imagine happening to us as a company. And so we at that point started really looking internally, going, how would we handle this if this were if this happened to our clients and we woke up tomorrow and that's our reality? How would we handle it? And that was just the tip of the iceberg. But once we started down that track, there was no going back. And we started learning more, started seeing more, started realizing really just how vulnerable we were and how reckless that was. And we knew then we were going to have to do something about it. So we've spent the last 4 years or more, but definitely the last 4 years in earnest, completely reinventing ourselves so that it's for our client's sake and for our own sake.
Yeah, amazing. And everyone has that eureka moment, or they're about to have one very soon. If somehow up to this point they have not had that. So that's a great story. We're totally going to dig in at exactly more in detail about that journey, which is fascinating. So again, just to set the table at a very high level for folks, so we're all on the same page. You have your constant security threats. Within your business, you have a lack of technical talent, resources. You have to manage the people, not just the technology, right? And so, who's monitoring data protection? Who's doing other things? What's your sales and marketing outfit look like? The stack complexity. Vendor shakeups. Thanks for calling out one of those. So the landscape of the environment is not exactly rock solid underneath your feet, and in a good way, people are always asking for more, and there's always more particular use cases. We're going to get into that a little bit on the security side of exactly what types of verticals, what types of SMBs, what they need, what they want, how have you been able to fill that need. But that's not just a simple thing of just, okay, well, we just add more solutions to the point where your stack just gets way more complex. And of course, some of these business models were invented in the 90s, and we've gone beyond that, and yet they still persist in terms of contract times and pricing, and how do you then pass that on? How do you even handle price increases to your customers, things like that? So any commentary, again, just to kind of reset the table for folks?
Yeah, no, I think that's critical. It's kind of the whole left of boom, right of boom consideration. I think we spent originally we were all focused on that left of boom conversation. How do we defend, protect against something? And the assume breach. We're now in the assume breach era. We basically, you've got to be able to functional. You got to be as skillful on either side of that boom, whether it's before the left of boom or right of boom. When that breach or incident happens, are as an MSSP, are we as providers ready to help our clients? And are we not only ready, but are we proficient at it? And that starts internally. It starts with our own stack, our own networks. I think it's where the painter's house is never painted. It is that way. And for IT service providers that are busy doing this work for other people, we rarely look inward and do it ourselves. So I really think it starts there. And that was one of our problems. Is when I started in 2011, we started with a basic stack. Again, didn't call it that then, but we just had the basic stuff and basically did not touch it. I don't think we revised our stack offering, our basic offering for the first 8 years of our business, and we were slowly dying, and I didn't realize it. We had plateaued. We were just under $1 million a year. We couldn't punch through that ceiling, and realigning your thinking and really when after all of these threats just became commonplace, and it's something you're going to have to deal with on a daily basis. That's been invaluable to us to just have that new mindset and to start with ourselves, get our own house in order, and then work outwards from there. But yeah, it's not just about tools. It's not just about I think one of the dangers is that we commoditize IT. I think as MSPs, we did that for years and years and years. And that's led to some of the problems that I know some of the guys that's watching today are probably very familiar with. And that how do I price my product? How do I add products to the stack? How much can I charge a client? And I think we're our own worst enemies because we have played into that commoditization of IT. And so now a lot of, most clients, I would say, see it as something they buy. They see it as a product they buy and install, whether that's hardware or software. And that's not at all what cybersecurity is. That's not, you're not really going to get secure that way. I mean, there's no harm in having great tools, but it's not going to get you to the next level. And it's not actually going to close the gaps in your stack. It's not the same thing as being a good cybersecurity practitioner, just having a bunch of tools in your toolkit. One of the things I like to say is I could go to my local Home Depot and I could buy out the entire store, all the tools, all the raw materials, and that's not going to make me a master carpenter. I can go to a IT convention hall floor. I can buy every single tool at every single booth, and that's not the skill that doesn't make me a cybersecurity professional. And
Right.
until you include the people, the processes, and the IT, the tech, you're not. If you don't do that, it's gonna be to your own peril and
Yeah.
of your clients as well. And so we got that vision in spades several years back and just started really diving deep into the NIST cybersecurity framework, CIS controls. I had isolated myself, and I'm not getting too far ahead of us, but I'd isolated myself from the community. It really hadn't been going to conferences or staying in the channel very much. And then, when I had that aha moment and realized that what got us where we were wasn't going to get us to the next level, and something has
Absolutely.
to change. And so, keeping up with the latest security threats, and as the ground and just realizing that aha moment, realizing how drastically the ground had shifted underneath our feet, and how we had not been nimble, we had not been flexible, we hadn't moved with it. And I'm just glad we had that moment. I'm glad for our clients' sake that we had that moment. And it's been a journey. The last 4 years have been fun. We've really been in earnest talking to clients and actually revising contracts and moving people along over the last 2 years. And that's what we'll get into that a little bit more in just a minute. But it's been good for us.
Yeah. You laid out perfectly. This complexity it's the double-sided coin of the opportunity and the challenge of if you just
Mm-hmm.
stay where you're at as a buyer of tech and then a reseller of tech in a commoditized space, the market is going to outpace you and get ahead of you, and you're going to
Right.
be stuck, like you said. And so more solutions, more value adding to the value chain, also opportunity. And then, but how do you do it? And it's the master carpenter. I love that analogy because I go to Home Depot every other day and try to buy out half the store and not probably becoming a master carpenter doing so, but just always trying to fix them. And so the idea of what is your true value add? It's your strategy, it's your people, it's your processes, it's your understanding. Anyone can buy stuff off the shelf. I love that. And we're absolutely
Right.
this is the meat of your talk. We're going to get into the whole journey of your MSP here in a second. So if you don't mind, if I could sort of, again, just paint the high level picture and for folks. So, how do you get your time and money back? So how do you add that extra level of value, solve the complexity problems, and hopefully create a better lifestyle for yourself? You said you plateaued, you were stuck, and you couldn't break that ceiling. You are about to tell us how you got out of that, how you propelled forward. And so it's a combination of things of enhanced economics. You want automation. The people and the process are so important, but the technology to be able to automate that and to kind of do the best work for you is super key. And of course, that streamlined tech stack. Any of these jump out to you? Obviously with your Axcient journey,
Yeah.
but just in your journey in general.
So I don't want to be misunderstood as bashing tools, because tools are absolutely crucial in the right hands, right? I mean, but this slide's a great case in point. Having Axcient as our chosen tool set is wonderful for us. I love the, if I try and keep with the tool analogy, I love the features. I love how flexible that tool is. You can use it and apply it in many different ways, and the speed to which we can do that to deploy backups for our clients and in all the different platforms and all the different places where data is today. And that is what I was going to point out. I think one of the challenges, especially when you're considering the aspect of data backup, you've got data, especially in hybrid environments or distributed workforces. You've got data everywhere. You've got data in the cloud. You've got data on local servers. You've got all these SaaS environments and other things. And so when you have a tool that is capable of meeting the need in multiple different ways or being used in different ways in the right hands, that's invaluable. And when we have come to see Axcient as our chosen tool set for that. And we started out, I think we've been Axcient partners, well, for a long time. If you extend it all the way back to eFolder before y'all acquired eFolder, we were using we were we were using their way back when we were using their managed online backup, and we had, I think back then it was called Anchor, that we were leaning into there. And then you guys took over, and we didn't really immediately adopt you guys. We did start changing our default backup appliance. So we were with Unitrends at first, but and those appliances are great. You guys offer BDRs, but what's different about the tool set that you guys offer is just how flexible and dynamic it is. I get to bring my own hardware to the mix if I choose to do an on-site appliance, or we could go direct to cloud. The fact that I can drop an agent onto a workstation or a server, and within minutes have backups rolling into protection, an air gap backup running, and it's so much faster. And then the fact that as we evaluated, changing our focus and putting all of our backup strategy into Axcient's hands, we just began to realize even more once we demoed the product just how feature packed it is. And so all of those things there, that from all of the bullet points, I mean, you guys really knock it out of the park. We right now currently use, I think we're still using X360 Sync a little bit. We're mainly using X360 Cloud and X360 Recover. And we've got that in all variations. We've got that with appliances, without. We've got it just direct to cloud. We've got it direct to cloud with a local on-site cache. So I love the fact that it gives options for varying clients, and then you can grow that client through it all. So maybe they don't go right away to the top tier of your backup solution, but just having a tool that can grow with us and that can move as fast as we need to move is very helpful.
Awesome. Yeah, and you're moving fast, and exactly, like, not to diminish tools, and it's only about the people, the process, and the strategy. The tools are important. You need that exact match to be able to match your capability for your strategy. I'm glad you mentioned the local cache. And I've heard stories before about deploying the agent through the RMM onto servers who are on their last gasp, and they're not needing to reboot it, and to be able to then draw things out and seed it. And that's just saved a couple of people's rear ends in the past as well. Yeah, bacon, that's better way.
Right.
Yeah. Amazing. Okay, cool. So this next part, I definitely would love to see questions coming through. I want to make sure I've got my chat settings properly set up so I can see that. And you're going to tell us even more in depth about that story that you've been laying out about, EIT networks, the journey that you've been on, the breaking through that plateau, the eureka moment, the aha moment, and then beyond. So, Dennis, please illuminate us.
So our big mantra right now is to do more for fewer clients. That's where we are in our headspace at this point. We want to really get in deep with the clients that we have, the ones that align with our value system, the ones that don't treat us like a commodity. We're jettisoning the ones that are commodity based, price based. It almost always leads to a race to the bottom for everybody involved when it's all about price. They don't typically, those are the clients that don't value you. They're the ones that complain the fastest when something goes wrong, and there's really just no grace and love there. And it's not every time can you go in and redeem those clients and win them over and get them to see. Some of them just won't get it. And so where we were back in, I don't remember, I guess it was around 2020, 2019. Anyway, I just remember we started having this epiphany, and then the Kaseya VSA thing happened. And then it wasn't long after that, not too much longer after that, I actually found myself at a conference, and one of the breakout sessions was with Robert Chaffee, which I believe you guys are going to have on tomorrow. And his story was incredible. And I can't thank him enough. Robert, if you're listening, thank you. I know we've met once before, but for him to put into words the nightmare scenario that he went through, and then the human element of it all is just a powerful presentation. So I hope everybody listening, if y'all haven't met Robert, make sure you tune in tomorrow for that. You'll be glad you spent the time there. But we got to see him, and it was right after that. I left that conference. I came back going, okay, we're we're changing. And he was very complimentary of Axcient. Y'all were with him through that whole ordeal, and it was a proven product. We were already Axcient partners, Axcient adjacent, but we weren't really using you guys for much. So we decided we were already looking at other vendors, other than Unitrends. We'd looked at the Datto appliance and some other things. We decided to go ahead and lean completely into Axcient, and the price point. I couldn't believe the price point. Not to make this about a commodity, but I could really, just the fact that you've got all those features, enterprise features. We love the snapshot verifications and the other things that we get every night that help us, ensure that our backup's not only taking place, but that the server boots. Anyway, we made a conscious decision at that point to dive deep into a framework that we could align with, something that was not what's the word I'm looking for? So something that was tangible. It was measurable, and we wanted to be able to say, okay, here's our standard. How are we aligning? And then be able to show that to clients, teach clients why these things are important. And so we made the decision that we are going to, and this through a series of other meetings and other inputs into our lives. Nobody lives or dies on their own. But through a series of steps, we decided, okay, we have to become an MSSP, or at least MSSP-like. We have to offer those services. Right. We need to build that stack. We need to make sure that the stack we're building is complete as complete can be. And then we have to remain flexible. We have to be able to update that stack as the threat changes or new emerging threats come out. So we came back and we started doing that as a team. We started meeting with clients and telling them what was about to happen. We were literally going to raise, I think you guys, some of the guys listening will probably, if you feel free to reach out to me afterwards if you've got any comments on this. But I think back then we were at around $30. We were charging average around $30 per endpoint. And you know how low that is.
Right.
We went from 30 to our first step was at 160. And that was a huge jump. And that was a monumental task to figure out how to go to clients and make the case. And so I think the biggest change for us is when we believed it, when we internalized it and knew this was the best thing for our clients. We decided at that point to blow away. We had a good, better, best, bronze, silver, gold, whatever tier. We blew it all away. We came up with EIT1, and all of our clients now, the clients that we engage with, they get EIT1 as our single offering.
That's awesome.
Did we lose clients? I'm sure that's going to be a question. Yeah, we did, and we continue to work through some of our clients that we have not had this conversation with. We're not trying to do it all at once. We're working through that with each client. So we have a few more left to go, and I imagine we might lose a few more. But what it's allowed us to do is exactly what I said. It's allowed us to do more for fewer clients. Now our relationships are deeper. We absolutely know where data is in our clients. We know where their PII data is. We've got it classified. We've got it identified. We've got it backed up. We've got all their SaaS environments covered. And so it allows us to be a better partner for the clients we do have. And even though there's fewer, we're making a lot more money than we've ever made. And so our profit margins are way up, and I'm hoping that continues. And now we are, I think I heard it said once, you go out into the sun puts out how many billions of rays of whatever the measurement is for sun. And you can get out there in the sun and spend an hour and maybe get a little bit of a sunburn, right? But if you take a magnifying glass, much smaller, you capture just a little bit of that power and you focus it. And I think that's what really captures what we are doing now. We're focusing our attention on a very specific, we have an ideal customer profile. We're working to refine that. And so having that focus really gives us the power that we need we blew through that ceiling we were at several years ago, and we continue to grow. We've got clients coming in each month. So I think that's been the biggest thing, to really internalize it, believe it, and be unapologetic when we went to our clients and made our case, and to show them it was based on measurable, objective standards, has won the day for us, and it's made our service desk, made our people internally very, very happy. So
yeah, incredible. We could spend hours talking about this. I mean, it sounds to me a bit like a chicken and an egg scenario of you probably felt this inertia of your existing clients, the way that you were, and you weren't happy with where things were, and you felt you were at a plateau, but you still had those customers that you had at the time. You had this kind of rapture type moment, this awakening. You did the research, you did the work, you understood it, you built this way higher value add system and process, and then you had to go out. So then you touched on this a little bit, was it one by one? Was it, you had the self-belief, you had the team aligned, you had all the resources? Was it new clients only and then merging out? So and lastly, I totally get your analogy of like this addition by subtraction. You've got some folks from the prior days, from the prior model, who are still your customers, and of course you're not just going to exactly kick them out per se, but EIT Networks is night. Okay, good, yeah, good
Yeah.
for you. So it's night and day different from what it was, and it's
Right.
like two different companies. It's apples and oranges. So like what came first, or how'd you manage day by day with that?
So, I imagine there's probably better ways to do it. We don't have the answers to everything. Obviously, we've not arrived, but the way we chose to do it and the way that seemed to work for us pretty well was to go to our biggest customers first, the ones that we knew had compliance issues, the ones that had flow down audits and all the other stuff, because they were in supply chains that required that. We went to them first, and they were most of them didn't even bat an eye. They were actually grateful for the fact that we were increasing our services and providing, being able to meet all these compliance issues that they were struggling under. So those went pretty well, and then we took a beat, started enjoying that additional revenue coming in and the cash flow and all of that. Took a month or two. Then we went with another round of what I'd call our second tier, and now we're working through them about 1 or 2 clients per month, and I'd say we've got about 10 to 15 more to go. Before we've worked through our existing client list. And then like you said, anything going forward, we just immediately engage that way. And we're culling that list, right? Not every client's for us. Back in the day, you wanted me to drive 60 miles to change your mouse. You're going to pay me, I'd do it. It's not, you do what you have to eat. But we hit that ceiling, and I'm grateful for that period, but it's just not where we're at, and it's not going to get us, it's not going to carry us forward. So our clients by and large we haven't, I'd say if I had to put a percentage on it, we maybe have lost 20% of our client base because of this change, but it's a significant, drastic change. And so what we're doing at this point is so the next 2 clients they'll get a notification telling them all about, asking for a meeting first, and then we'll sit down and talk with them. And then we just go through the why we're doing what we're doing, why this is necessary, and when the date's certain to be. And it gives the client some time to internalize it. And then approaching that date, we just ask, okay, do you see it? Do you not see it? And if they don't see it, that's fine. That's not our client. We're just growing out of their out of alignment with them. So I don't have any hard feelings for those people. I'll say one last thing. I know it's been a little bit of a rant, but I hate it affects me, and I'm sure others will identify. It affects me emotionally. It affects me physically almost to lose a client. It's never fun, but I look at it like this. My guys out there, their livelihoods are really on the decisions we make as a leadership team. And we owe it to them, we owe it to ourselves to protect us, to protect ourselves from clients that just don't get it. I saw just today, there's a class action lawsuit for the breach, and I think it's 5 hospitals in Toronto. $214 million class action lawsuit, and it includes the MSP that was supplying IT to those 5 hospitals. It's not scare tactics anymore. This is real stuff, and I think we need to wake up, and the better we do as a community to stop the commoditization of IT, to stop engaging on that level and make it more relational, the better it's going to be for everybody. The better it's going to be for our clients in the end.
100%. MSPs are called to a higher level of offering of security. We've been talking about this sort of sheriff motif within the marketing team of just, there's sort of a frontier, a lawless land, and you're the person on the ground who can protect these folks, and they often don't know better. Now it's becoming more and more prevalent in the news, and so they have a better sense. But it doesn't do anyone a service to sort of cut corners or to try to be everything to all people. You need to be a higher value, higher level of data protection, especially for compliance. And then to offer that for folks who don't see that vision, sorry, then put your hopes into something else, USB drives or whatever you got to yourself. But it's not for you.
Right.
Amazing. You have 3 steps for data protection transformation, and so if it's okay with you, let's go on to
Yeah,
that. And I know we would love to, beyond hearing your evolution, also get some of the more salient points from you. Would be great.
sure. Yeah, so it's just again, it starts with intentionality, but a focus on being less transactional, less commoditization in your conversations with your clients, become more relational, get to know their goals, really lean into that so that they see you. We've all talked about trusted advisors for years and years and years, but really developing that is where it's key. It's what, and I think sometimes we have all this noise of clients that don't really appreciate it. It's very difficult to take I don't know if you've ever read the pumpkin plan, but it's very difficult to find that one pumpkin that looks like it has the potential and really nurture it when you're really trying to grow like a million stick pumpkins. You got to cull the field. You got to get rid of those that don't quite get it and lean and use the word lean in again. I don't want to do that. I've used it too many times, but really pay attention to those that matter. So less transactional, more relational with your clients. Partner with the right vendors, but don't expect vendors to save your bacon. Although I've heard great things about Axcient. I mean, Robert's one of your key champions, and he raves about you, and we rave about you. We've had a couple of close calls where you guys have you've been there. Your product's been there. It's done what it's supposed to do, and I have no doubt that you guys will have our back if we ever face something even more. But then being flexible with that, with your service offering, with your plan, making sure that you change as often as possible. As often as the ground underneath us requires, when it shifts underneath us, as often as that's required. But one last thing is not on the slide would just be to really stay plugged into the community, the channel. I think it's key. Sometimes we ostracize ourselves to our own peril, and we get small-minded about especially if you're a smaller MSP like us. It's easy to forget that what you're doing, what role you play in cybersecurity, and in not only that, but if some of these conferences, even national security, the MSPs are becoming more and more of a key player in that. So those are the 3 keys, though. Just lean into that relationship idea, partner with the right vendors, because most of us can't stand up our own security, our own NOC and SOC. Most of us are going to have to lean into other vendors. There I go using that again. Let's start a drinking game. But we're gonna have to lean in. We're gonna have to partner with vendors that can help us achieve these goals and give us the tools that we need. But then knowing how to use those tools also is key. So,
love it. I mean, exactly your point of there's just a bigger, brighter world out there. You can engage through the community. You can do your own research. You can take cues from frameworks and compliance and cybersecurity frameworks. I mean, the knowledge is there, the opportunity is there. Of course, you're making it sound easy, Dennis. I'm sure you could probably paint more pictures of exactly how painful and how many late night calls and how much convincing and cajoling you had to do. But do you feel like it's to some degree, if you build it, they will come kind of thing? In the sense of, for you, it was maybe a plateau of not say imagination to be critical with it, but just a plateau of awareness, and it really had to hit home for you of how serious this was, how the landscape in the world is completely changing from when you started your business, and it's just a completely different world, and then for that to sink in and then build that new dream.
I suppose if I had anything to do over again, I would probably spend more time educating our clients before going in and having the conversations. We tried to do a little bit, but we probably could have done a better job with education. And I think that's one of the other hat that, MSPs wear a lot of hats. And that's one of the hats that I think we really have to focus on going forward is being responsible for educating clients. So perhaps if we had spent more time with that education and trying to be patient, but at some point you've got to make a choice. You've got to act, and we felt like we were already too far behind. We were already catching up with the rest of the group, so we were all about getting this change occurring internally as fast as possible, and then presenting it to our clients as well. We wanted to do that as fast as possible, even if it meant that maybe we would lose extra clients in the mix, because at the end of the day, we were already losing money and just didn't know it. We had to make this change. So I think if you start with just educating the clients and you internalize it, you understand it. You say it looks easy. Well, I mean, I'm sure. Go back to our our master carpenter analogy. I'm sure a master carpenter makes it look easy when they do what they do, but that's you're looking at years of effort. You're looking at intentionality. You're looking at
Right.
focus. They've focused their skills. So I start there. Start with first. If any of this resonates with anybody listening, if you find yourself where we were, just start looking internally first. What would you do tomorrow morning if something were to like that were to happen? You would have a cataclysmic event. And then work backwards. How do you protect against that? How do you trap for it? How do you solve for it? And I think that'll lead you in a lot of places. It's going to lead to a lot of learning, but it's going to lead you to some new tools as well, most likely. But your clients, you'll be better for it. Your clients will be better for it. And I can almost promise you, your staff will be better for it as well if it's done well.
Yeah. That vision piece is so critical of that vision of the future of what things could be like, and really just imagining the scenario that we don't want to think about too often, but as soon as it happens, like you encountered Choppy's story, as soon as it happens, it's just a complete game changer. If you wouldn't mind, could you, in your own words, talk about why flexibility is so key? So, I mean, you've made this massive transition, break fix, MSP, MSSP, or MSSP like. Love that you coined that term. And various vendors, various elements to your stack, and I imagine verticals, SMBs of all shapes and sizes around you in your community. What does flexibility do for you and your company's transition?
So I think everybody's story is a little bit different. We offer services all across the continental U.S. We have clients that we're not focused in one geographic location, even though our core here is here in the Southeast. But having a tool that we can deploy even remotely, and not have to worry about going on site, not have to worry about it potentially breaking or whatever. Your product just was phenomenally easy, and it's gotten even easier now that y'all got the licensing portals combined. You just continue to iterate and develop, and it's gotten even better since when we first signed on it about a year or so ago. But for the X360 and the extra services. But just having something that is that dynamic, something that I can take and say, okay, I can put it on a desktop, I can put it on a server, it's same agent, and it auto detects. It's just less that my techs have to do. It's less that I have to do, and we get the, one of the things we tell our clients is, and we try to refocus them instead of on a commodity talk, is we're not selling you a commodity, we're selling you outcomes. We're going to promise you an outcome, and you can hold us to that outcome. And I can get to that outcome of air gap backups. I can get to that outcome of your SaaS environments being protected, SharePoint all covered. I can get to that outcome a whole lot faster with a tool like yours than I can with others. And like I said, the packed feature set and the price point has been amazing. Obviously a lot of tools look the same. They do some of the same things, but how they do them, how they carry that out is really where it's at for the MSP anyway, because some of them are just a little more clunky, a little more cumbersome, a little more problematic than others. And it's been a breeze deploying Axcient to all of our clients. And the fact that it's just not all of that resource intensive is also helpful, depending on how, obviously you've got to have it set up right. You got to know how to use the tool. And then your support is great. We've never had a problem with support. Even back when you were eFolder, things just have been seamless since Axcient's taken over. And I know I'm going back in time talking about eFolder, but
Okay.
yeah, and then all the automation, like you talked about, just having those little things that really add up to be big things. Those nightly screenshot verifications and other stuff. It's been great.
Excellent. We tell ourselves we maybe don't talk about support as often as we should. We've rolled out chat recently. Some folks just absolutely love doing that. We have multiple people managing chat, phones, 365 support. The guided onboarding, the videos, and we've got this guy Rick, who's just a complete rock star for helping new clients come on board and talking them through their use cases and everything. And so, yeah, it's probably one of our undersold things. And you talked before about having vendors that you can trust and being able to rely on your stack, not to commoditize it itself, but savings that's the equation. Like the
Sure.
Equation literally for a managed service provider is, you just said you promise outcomes, not technology. You're not a managed device provider. Like you're selling outcomes and you're protecting data. And part of that equation is the cost. It's the cost of your people. It's the cost of the solutions. It's hugely important. So
yep.
I'm glad you pointed that out. Excellent.
Yep. It's not the first consideration, but it's always a consideration for sure.
It's your business, right? It has to be. Incredible. Great. So I know that we had time for questions at the end as well. I'm not sure if I'm able to see anything in my host chat, or if Isabella, you had some things you wanted to forward over to us.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions that came in.
Oh, great.
Our first one is from Gloria. They said, "This is great. Can you share how you price your services?"
That's the magic sauce. So yeah, so we have currently we're moving to just a flat EIT1. We're not going to have anything but that. Currently, we're not 100% there. We're still within that transitional window. So we have what our legacy product, which a couple of clients are still on, but like I said, about 10 to 15. And that's priced differently, obviously, than our EIT1 product. I'd say there's only one other wrinkle in the way we decided to try and package this, and that's if you've got clients that need yearly penetration testing and other stuff. It's difficult to build that into a it's not impossible. It's difficult to build that into a flat fee, monthly fee throughout the year, and make everyone pay for it when not everyone's going to need that level of compliance. I think everyone should, and that's part of the education process. We do offer that a la carte for all of our clients. But things like SIM is in our base package. We don't add the other thing that we keep out of our base package is a consumable like a Office product, Microsoft 365 licensing. We keep that all a la carte. It's billed separately. And we partner with Pax8 for that. So, but we've come up with what we consider our basic security stack, something we feel helps us meet at least IG1 and IG2 of CIS, and then we have other offerings that are a la carte for those. Really, it's a niche. It's only like one or two of our clients right now that are requesting that we've been able to convince want all of that. But what we do is basically take the total cost of providing that service divided by the agents the amount of agents we have deployed, or the amount of endpoints that are under that particular service offering, and we come up with what our raw cost is, and then we have a calculation for what we want to see our margin, and we just, I think one of the other key things on that point, one of the key things for us was redoing our contracts so that we have a built-in automatic raise every year, price increase every year. It's really key. Even if, I mean, it doesn't have to be a lot, just a little bit. But you want the clients to get it, that they know that this isn't dynamic or static. It's not going to stay like this, because threats don't stay the same. With AI coming out and all the deep fakes and all the other stuff, I'm sure we're going to be adding something else to our stack in the next year. So we have, in our conversations with those clients that have adopted EIT1, we have prepared them ahead of time for the fact that we have done you a disservice. We just take it on the chin. We admit our mistakes. We're very transparent, and just say, look, we waited too long to make this move, and we're going to make sure that we don't ever get to this spot again. We're going to be evaluating this and every so often, and you'll see more than just that yearly automatic price increase. You may see it throughout the year as needs dictate.
Absolutely, best practice. We advise folks all the time that needs to be a part of your business. It is so critical for that reason, not to be greedy and to just try to squeeze more money out. The business that you're in is such an evolving, day by day, threat by threat type of thing. You have to hedge against the uncertain in some ways. So
right,
absolutely, excellent. Other questions that are.
Yeah, on the topic of communicating with your clients and setting expectations, we have another question about educating your customers. You talked a little bit about education around cybersecurity. You also talked a little bit about making the case with your clients about price changes and stuff. So I'm curious, personally, that was my question, but we also have a question about education, if you can answer those.
Yeah, again, I'm not the authority here, but the way we've done it is I don't know if you all know who Sunil Yu is, but he's the author of the Cyber Defense Matrix, and he really helped me see a way to have that conversation through a different lens. It's just taking the NIST cybersecurity framework, but it's kind of showing it through a different view, and then basically, though, even I'm getting ahead of myself. Storytelling. it's all about storytelling. You've got to go to the client and you've got to give them legitimate, not full feces stories, but legitimate examples, and current, hopefully, the more current, the better, of the reality of these threats, and the fact that it's not just the MGM grands, it's not just 23andMe, it's not just these large clients or large companies that are being attacked. It's everyone. Everyone is on the radar now. Data is the new currency, and
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what size you are, your data is cherished. They want it, and you do too. We had a conversation with a client who just did not see. We had let this is one of those clients that you need to part ways with, but indeed, in the matter of the conversation, we found out they had a location that well, I'm not going to go into personal details about a client, but if you get involved with the client and you start telling stories, it's pretty evident soon, really early on in the conversation, whether they're going to get it or not, whether they have even the propensity to get it. But we start with saying, okay, understand we're being held to a different standard now. MSPs are becoming more and more at risk if we're not at least having these conversations with you. We started by having the conversations and just setting a waiver. If they want to waive the services, at least we thought that would protect us. And the more we actually study the legalities of that, and we study some cases that there are actually cases where that doesn't hold up. If you as the professional and the service provider know that they need a certain base level of protections, and you allow them to continue operating and you continue to service them, it doesn't matter that you have a piece of paper. You're negligent. You're not doing your due diligence, and more and more and more and more. It's just coming home to the MSP's feet. And so all of that is part of that storytelling, is part of that conversation. Why the change? Well, because legislation, insurance, all of this is changing, and and a lot of your clients, believe it or not, are already hearing some of this stuff, but not from you. They're hearing it from their cybersecurity insurance provider. They're hearing it from, if they're in part of a regulatory environment, they're hearing it from other channels. And you look like, potentially you look like the person that's not really with it. That must not be all that much of a professional. So like I mentioned, some of our bigger clients that are already in that space, they were very grateful when we began offering this service, and it didn't turn them off. They were right there, right on board, and didn't blink an eye.
Yeah. I mean, SMBs have to. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, SMBs have to juggle so much, and they're worried about payroll and their talent and workforce and their margins and a million things. And so cybersecurity is yet another thing weighing on them. But if they're not ready, if they're not in that right mindset, like what can you do? Like how? So then education to that vertical, to that client, to that customer becomes ever more important to get them on your same page for your value offering, and not everyone's going to be for you, right? So you just have to have your ICP in mind at all times, I feel like.
Yep, that's right.
Do we have time for other questions, Isabella?
Those are all the questions.
Great. Oh, perfect. All right. Well, we're right on time. You had mentioned Right of Boom, Dennis. Is that something, this next iteration coming up that you plan to attend?
Yeah, so we went for the first time. I guess it was the first conference last year, and it was a really, really great conference. If you're at all worried about this cybersecurity question, and if you're on this journey like we are, then I highly recommend it. It was very informative. The format is so cool because you actually go through like a threat scenario pretty much the whole conference. It just flows through the whole conference. At least it did last year. So my only drawback is it's in Las Vegas, and I hate going to Las Vegas. But we'll be there. We'll be there again this year. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Okay. So I only ask because I'll be there as well. Axcient, of course, is going to be there. We're on the road quite a bit this year. We divide and conquer, but that happens to be one that I'm happy to be representing us with. So I'll get to see you.
Awesome.
And if I can segue here, if you'll let me show a little bit for my live stream tomorrow that Isabel is coordinating with us. And so you mentioned Robert Chaffee earlier. His story is absolutely incredible. We're going to talk about the next chapter in the story that just continues to unfold, and his Dallas courtroom appearance as a victim statement with FBI, with the accused in the courtroom. I can't wait. Like I'm getting goosebumps about what we're going to talk about. He will also be at Write a Boom as well, and so maybe the three of us can actually connect in person and share some stories in person. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Cool.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Dennis Cockrell, thank you so much for your time, your partnership. We super value everything that you've say about us and the partnership and your work, but your journey is the true inspiration here, and how you've really turned that aha moment and that potential tipping point for yourself into this amazing opportunity, this transformation, the evolution. That's what so many people aspire to do with their MSPs and their businesses, and you've pulled it off, and it continues to unfold, and can't wait to stay in touch and see how this journey continues.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And before we jump off, I just want to announce our winner of our $100 Amazon gift card. Thank you all for staying all the way into the end. Our winner is Bruce Racon. Congratulations. This recording will be sent out to everyone today. And yeah, we look forward to seeing everyone at the live stream tomorrow. I'm also really excited. I think it's going to be an awesome conversation. I dropped the link in the chat. Otherwise, it's also going to be available on Facebook. So see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Thanks so much, Dennis.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.